Hi there, I'm Karen McCarthy, and it's time to Karen-ize. Today's Wednesday, and that's when we talk about spiritual health. This is week 4 of our discussion on forgiveness, the value, what it is, what it does to us, that kind of thing. So I want to start with a story. This is a story I used with kids that I've worked with when I was teaching, when I was running the youth center. It's a great story on the power of our words also. So here it is. There was a little boy and he had a really bad temper. He was losing his cool all the time and really causing a lot of problems. And so his father thought and thought and thought and thought, they tried everything. They tried punishment, they tried reward, whatever. So finally he said, I think I'm going to do a real visual thing for him. So he gave him a bag of nails and said, go out or look at the back fence. And every time he lost his temper or hurt someone's feelings, he was to go out and hammer a nail in the back fence. And the boy said, oh, okay, he liked to hammer, so that was cool. So the first day he drove like 37 nails into the fence. The next day, 29. The third day, 31. But as time went on, he gradually had to do less and less pounding of nails because he realized it was much easier to just keep his cool than to have to remember to go back and do that when he got home. One day, he didn't lose his temper at all. He was so proud. He went home and he told his dad, expecting some great praise for his effort. And instead, his dad suggested that now I want you to pull one nail out each day you don't lose your temper. So, okay, he decided to do that. And it took a while, but finally he had taken all of the nails out. And he was so proud of himself. And again, he expected a lot of praise. And I'm sure he got a little, but he also had a lesson to learn. And the dad said, well, you've done really well, hon. You've taken all the nails out. You've really got a handle on your temper, but I want you to look at that fence. That fence is never, ever going to be the same. When you say things in anger, they leave a scar just like those holes in the fence. You can put a knife in a man and draw it out and it's going to heal. But no matter how many times you say you're sorry, that wound, that scar is still there. Well, a verbal wound is just as bad, maybe even worse than a physical wound. So that was a pretty sobering lesson for the boy, right? But it's a lesson that we all should pay attention to. When we're hurt by others, it does leave a hole. It might seem really big, really little, but it leaves a hole. And those holes, if we don't deal with them, they grow deeper and more painful and cause more problems. And unforgiveness is what does that. Forgiveness is what can heal those holes and heal that pain. So remember, forgiveness is more about us, way more about us. It's really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the other person at all. Unless, of course, that person is asking for forgiveness. That's a whole different thing. But we're kind of talking a lot about, I think, the people that they either don't realize or don't care that they've hurt us, or they hurt us, but they don't know how to apologize. They don't know how to humble themselves, that kind of thing. So we need to not hang on to that. I remember one time, I don't even remember exactly what had happened, but this person had hurt me so bad. And I was a baby Christian and was reading and came across the passages about forgiveness. And I'm like, are you kidding? God, why should I forgive them? They were blatantly, purposefully hurting me. Why? Why should I forgive them? But he gently, as he does a lot of times, showed me that forgiveness had nothing to do with them. They could care less. Actually, that person could care less if I forgave them or not. Sometimes people hurt us, but they don't think they've done anything, and so they think we're being unreasonable. And that brings up a whole nother topic. Maybe I'll dwell on it just a little bit. For instance, like when I was working with the kids, sometimes they would be bullying. Or then they'd say, I'm just teasing. And the other person's like, no, you weren't. You were hurting me. And so we would talk about the fact that teasing is only fun and it's only teasing if both people are enjoying it. If it's one-sided, then it becomes bullying. And that's kind of the same way with some people. They just don't even realize or care that they've hurt someone. But even if we don't think that it should have hurt them, if it did, it did. I mean, we all have our different life experiences. And so something that wouldn't even affect one person is going to profoundly affect another person just because of things in their past. So don't ever think that just because you don't think it should have hurt them, that it shouldn't, or just realize that even if they hurt you and they don't think that it should have, if it hurt you, it hurt. And so we need to just forgive and go on with it. I kind of got off on a little different tangent there, so I hope it still made sense. But when I hang on to that hurt and the bitterness, it causes damage to me. Very seldom does it cause damage to them. So it's the first step to healing. And, really healing can't happen until you forgive. So, use that example of someone who has had a family member murdered, and they go to the hearing and they say, I forgive you. And some people are like, how can you do that? I think it's because a lot of times we think if we forgive someone, it's saying what they did was okay. And that's not it at all. It's just saying, you know what, I forgive you. I am not going to dwell on that anymore. I'm not going to let that hurt me anymore. Now, having a family member or a friend killed, that's going to hurt for a while, for a long time. But our unforgiveness is what makes that expand and last longer. So anyway, I'm going to close with 1 Peter 3:9. It says, do not repay evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, bless, I missed the comma. Bless, for to this you were called, that you may obtain a blessing. That is another word. Last time I said if there's but, B-U-T, pay attention. That, in this way, also is do this so that this can happen. So let me read it again. Do not repay evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, bless. For to this you were called, that you may obtain a blessing. And you know what? I've learned since that day that one of those blessings is healing. And I pray that you are also able to receive that blessing. So God's peace to you, and I will see you next week for our final in the series on forgiveness. Have a good one.